I don't know a lot of things. I think I want to start it with that and just tell you guys I don't know a lot of things, but I know one thing for a fact. Wherever Ben Simmons is right now, he's sitting at home and he's smiling happy before he goes to bed. Ben Simmons had probably one of the oddest revenge games I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Philly came out and just got mollywopped from the beginning to the end. They lost by 40. Ben Simmons was just sitting there and indulging, and the Nets backed him up. Kevin Durant went for 40. Kyrie Irving had a decent game. I wouldn't say it was his best game. Then Kevin Durant comes back the next day and drops a 50 piece. The reason why I want to talk about Ben Simmons is because the Nets have fallen to the 8th seed and they're battling for a play-in spot, but they haven't even seen Ben Simmons. Kyrie can only play in away games, which is, I want to clarify, we saw Durant drop 50, what do you have, 53 points today? And then he went and dabbed up Kyrie right after the game, but we weren't able to see him and Kyrie be on the floor together, which I think is obviously stupid. I think they're just punishing Kyrie at this point, but we're not even going to get into that. But Kevin Durant showed us that he's still Kevin Durant, top 5, top 10 greatest basketball player in the world right now. And I was thinking it's so scary that we haven't seen Ben Simmons play basketball. But I do really think, going back to what I was talking about, it shows a lot about Ben Simmons' character that he was able to actually come out. I thought he should have played in the game. I don't know, for whatever reason, Ben Simmons decides to be injured, and that's on him. But it showed a lot about his character, and if he wouldn't have came out on that game, I think he would have got very chastised in the media. But that was definitely one of the biggest revenge games and probably the oddest, weirdest revenge game I've seen in the last 10 years. I remember when Durant left OKC and then they came back and played in OKC when he was on Golden State. And Durant had a horrible game, but then the next time he had 30. But at least Durant played, you know? So that shows something about a player's character when they're able to, like, they make a bitch move. Like, that's plain and simple what it is. Ben Simmons made a bitch move. He made a pussy move. He went to a different team, but at least he had the, like, what's the word? Balls, manliness to be able to stand up and be like, I made this move. I have to live with it every day. I have to live with it. Philly, we didn't work out, but at least I'm going to come to the game and hear the boos and hear what the crowd has for me. Now I want to say on the other side of the ball, I was watching that game and both the MVPs, Embiid and Jokic, had horrible games that game, and I was just thinking, like, this dude Embiid strictly relies on free throws. And I don't even want to sound like a casual saying that, but I feel like Joel Embiid, that game was just flailing to the line. He had, 16 free throw attempts in the first quarter and like 24 on the game or something like that. I just think that since he's so big and dominant, that just like a Shaq, that they call fouls on him every time he gets slapped, and like, yeah, it's a foul, but when you're like baiting for a call, I feel like the ref should take that into consideration and be like, yo, this is something that we are looking for with Joel Embiid. He's constantly trying to draw fouls, and that's the way that he's getting a majority of his points. He's the number 1 free throw shooter in the league. So that was a horrible performance from Philly all around. James Harden was 1 of 10 in the first quarter, and it was just an annihilation from start to finish. So I know Ben Simmons is somewhere at home right now just smiling, happy because he didn't even have to play and his team won by 40. The Chicago Bulls haven't held an opponent to under 100 points since Alex Caruso has been back. So they were first place in the East. Now they are almost in 5th place. Celtics are 1 game behind the Chicago Bulls, and they hadn't held an opponent to 100 points, under 100 points since Alex Caruso had left. So Alex Caruso comes back. He made his return. He struggled to kind of get the ball moving offensively. I feel like his shot and a little bit of his just being in shape wasn't fully there, but I do think that Alex Caruso showed us how dominant he is defensively, and sometime in his career he'll be on an all-defensive team. And I also realized that first game they held the Cleveland Cavaliers to 100 points. So that was the first time they did that in 25 games, so that obviously shows that Caruso has a huge impact defensively for the Chicago Bulls, and without him, he takes away the top player from another team. In that Cleveland game, Garland was just like, you seen that video of Garland rubbing the sweat on Caruso? Like, Garland was stressed out because Caruso was just hounding him the whole time. He was like, I think he started the game 1 for 13 or something like that. So Bulls, that's a huge thing to have Caruso back. I also want to talk about the Phoenix Suns. I want to give my props to the Phoenix Suns for sure. I came in here saying that I thought the Phoenix Suns were going to be deflated without having Chris Paul and losing Devin Booker to the health and safety protocols. But since the All-Star break, they're like 7-3. They blew out the Lakers by like 40 points last night. I think that when you build such a culture in Phoenix that they were trending upward since the bubble without Chris Paul, and like Chris Paul goes down and they know their identity and they know how they play basketball, it's kind of like the next man up roster. It kind of reminds me of teams that are just so deep and they just are like, okay, he's gone, but we have the next man up. Obviously, nobody's replacing Chris Paul, but I'm